Before we go into the podcast, I want to just talk about a business that I've set up with my friend George. It is called the Podcast Introduction Group. So if you want to join and be able to be featured on 24 to 48 podcasts to be able to reach an amazing audience, this is the place you need to go to. Podcast, being a guest on podcasts, is automatically establishing you as an authority and is able to build your personal and professional brand. We handpick of a bank of podcasters that we have to be able to grow your business and brand. We do 100% of everything that needs to be done by my team. You do not need to lift a finger. You are able to expose yourself to new and relevant markets by going on other people's podcasts. You also are able to create brand loyalty. People will love listening to you and coming back to your products or services, and it's able to increase your revenue. So if you want to be able to get involved, you can sign up quickly, registered with an account manager. There's an onboarding call where we target the podcasts that you want to be on, the type that you want, whether it's entrepreneurship, business, health, fitness, whatever it is. We then match you to those podcasts and you can start your journey. We have regular catch-ups with our account managers, and Google ranks you when people search for you. So when people are searching for you, you're able to see your podcasts at the top of the list. So if you're interested in being a podcast guest on multiple podcasts, we are the place to go. If you go to podcastintroduction.com and go and register your details, we will have a quick call with you, match your podcast that you want to be on, and we can then start this process ASAP. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Back onto the podcast then. Just one last thing before we go into the podcast. I just wanted to talk to you about the fact that I have a YouTube channel that has been going for quite some time, and I am recording and releasing all of my interviews with some short videos as well on YouTube. So please do check it out. YouTube on Absolute Business Mindset. You'll see a bunch of interviews there, all the longer format interviews and some short videos as well. So please enjoy that. And here goes with the podcast interview. This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, created and hosted by Mark Hayward. This podcast will interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and people in their careers. We will delve into their journey to success, key life milestones, and go deep into their area of expertise. This podcast will inspire and educate with great guests. Get ready to learn from other successes and failures. Today we have Chris Craddock, who is the founder and CEO at the Redux Group. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. So let's go straight into it. Let's talk about your education. So what degree did you do at the George Mason University?
So for my undergrad, I got an economics degree.
Okay. And why did you choose economics?
Well, it was interesting. So I graduated in high school. I mean, I essentially was illiterate when I graduated in high school because I just spent all my time figuring out how to talk teachers into passing me rather than actually doing the work. And I got to Mason. It was the first time when I was in the econ class, I had a professor that, showed how like your education can really, how understanding can actually open up the world for you. And I saw how economics really dictates how people act, kind of the Adam Smith Wealth of Nations idea that people tend to act on their interests. And it was just really interesting to me. And so I took another class and then another one. And then I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to major in this. And so that's how I ended up getting an econ degree.
Okay, fantastic. Now, you did take a bit of a turn. You then went into a master's in theology. You actually became a pastor in the King's Chapel. So what was the turning point from an economics graduate into theology?
Well, when I was in high school, my life was like I was, off on a really rough path. And a lot of people that meet me now, they have a harder time believing that. But man, it was, I was just on a rough path. And I was just so thankful that I had people that that taught me what it was to be a man, taught me how to live life, just really spent a lot of time with man. So I decided to go into ministry because of that. And I really, really enjoyed it. And so then when I did that, I decided to go back to school and get a theological degree as well, because I'm like, well, as long as I'm going to be learning about this, as long as I'm going to be teaching about this stuff, I might as well, go back to school. And at that point, I had realized that I really did like to learn. It just, as anybody that listens to me will tell, I have a high level of energy. And one of the reasons I realized I hated, my younger years in all the schooling was because just sitting still on a desk the way that people are forced to learn, it just doesn't work really well for me, a high energy person. And so I realized I love to learn. I just didn't like to learn, sitting at a desk for 8 hours. And so, then I went back to school. I really enjoyed it. And I ended up getting a theological degree, a master's degree.
So just to tap into something you said a little bit earlier on, you said, we don't have to go into what that rough path was, but I'm interested about, you said there was people that reached out to you and supported you. And I'm assuming they were through the church, were they, that they supported you?
Yeah, so I wasn't really involved in the church at all. I got involved with a ministry, an organization called Young Life. I was just an older guy that, just was willing to volunteer his time and help younger folks just find what it is, find a path, find their way to be who they were created to be.
And what did you learn in your theology course that maybe you didn't learn in like traditional education in the US?
Yeah. Obviously it just got into some of the questions about, apologetics, like why are we here? Why were we created? What were the reasons for all of that? Being able to dig a little deeper into different theologies. One of the things that I think I learned more while I was in seminary than just about anything else is that we all have these beliefs that do not coincide with other beliefs that we have. And all of a sudden, when you have to assimilate them all together, you realize that we believe one thing that may be true about man or God or why we're here. And then we realize that, oh man, that completely contradicts another belief that I may have. And you just have to start really boiling down stuff and saying, okay, what do I believe about everything, meaning, morality, destiny, just everything about our life. Why am I here? And, are these congruent? Are these beliefs congruent? And so that's one of the things that was really, really helpful, is starting to realize that, that a lot of times we have these incongruencies that we haven't really sat down and thought through.
Right. And then you became a pastor at King's Chapel, and you were there for a substantial period of time, weren't you? I can't remember. Was it 17 years?
I was, yeah. Yeah, I was.
And what was your experience as a pastor there? What challenges did you face? What experiences did you have? Maybe positive and negative.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it was an interesting time, because being able to spend time with people, being able to really make an impact in people's lives was really, really great. It was a smaller church. And so being able to create community and really live life with other families that you care about was really great. But the tough thing is, I'm a big thinker. I like to dream big and act big. And, when you're with in a small church culture, it is tough, because that's the culture that people want to be in. And you look at a fish or a shark, right? You put a shark in a small aquarium, they're going to grow to be a couple inches. You put them in the ocean and they're going to grow 8 feet, 12 feet. Wow. And so that's the whole idea, is that the good side was being able to really build into lives of people and spend a lot of time. The tough thing is, when you're in a smaller organization, it's hard to dream bigger and hard to be bigger and think bigger, because, you're just in a smaller tank.
Not to, I don't want you to think there's any sort of criticism, but do you think you outgrew your church, or did you outgrow being a pastor?
No, I think it was the church. Because I still work as a a pastor. I joke that I'm just no longer a professional Christian. I don't get paid to do it anymore. Yeah. I think that if I were in an environment that would have allowed me to continue to grow the way that I was growing, that I probably would have still been there, would be the thing. But I mean, not to say, I don't want to throw any barbs, because it's great people. It's just a different vision, right? Like it's a different vision. So it's not that it's negative that it was smaller. It was just that, the vision I signed on for was a different one. And I don't even think that the leadership there knew that they had a different vision than what we talked about, because that was always, we all in voice would put out there the same vision for stuff. But, I've always been a go big or go home kind of guy. That's the way I've seen everything in life. That's our real estate group. That's the reason we've grown as fast as we have, all the different ministry stuff that I've done, we've worked hard to really grow it big. So that's just been my goal and my thing.
So you talked about real estate. So you're a real estate agent as well. When you left, was that your transitional sort of role from leaving the church? You went into real estate?
Yeah. Well, so early 2000s, when my wife got pregnant, I was making very, very little money, like poverty line type money, but I loved what I was doing. And so I started flipping some houses in the early 2000s. And when I started flipping those houses, I made 12 times what I made in a year in about 4 months. And I was like, okay, that's pretty crazy. And then, then we were able to continue living the way we were living. But I guess it was in the right around 2011, all the money started running out again, and it was just a harder situation. So I went back to flipping houses, and I had gone back to school and gotten a doctorate in leadership. And so I always led large groups of people, and I came across Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it just was a color by numbers way to learn how to net $1 million in real estate by growing a team where you help other people on the team really make a lot of money. And so that was the goal there, was to just build that out. And so I guess it was December 2014, we started building out the retail branch of our team. And then that really started growing fast. And so then from there, we created our title company, our construction company, our insurance company, our lending, like all of these different businesses. And so now we have 12 streams of income, all from that real estate kind of venture, and, all different vertical integrations.
So it's multiple streams of income you've developed through. So you've built from flipping houses, you've got your own, we call them estate agents. So like your own real estate agency. You said you've got insurance as well. What other areas have you gone into?
So insurance, construction. There's a company called Legal Shield. So it's like a legal insurance, which is just really, really a powerful organization. We have my wife basically she's the branch manager of a lending company. We have a hard money lending company. So we lend to people that are flipping houses. We flip houses. We have a rental portfolio. I'm a part of EXP Realty, which basically anybody in your downline, I'm incentivized to help them succeed. So EXP essentially gives me money for anybody that joins under me. And then I'm incentivized to help them succeed at a high level. What else? I've got a coaching business where I coach a lot of investors how to monetize all of their dead leads. That's through REI Revive. Anyway, I'm sure I'm leaving some stuff out, but the cool thing is I've got business partners in almost all of these where I'm able to have great people that run them, and I'm able to just spend the time really coaching and encouraging and seeing the big picture and helping us grow the organizations.
So I'm quite well renowned in that I do a few different businesses, and mine have stretched to 3 and 4 at a time, which I found quite challenging, being able to juggle. How do you juggle so many different businesses? You said you have people supporting partners that support you, but How have you managed to be able to juggle all those different businesses?
Yeah, I heard Gary Keller. So I was really blessed to be a part of a small group of people that Gary was personally mentoring, billionaire founder of Keller Williams. And what Gary said to us at one point is you can have as many businesses as you want, as long as you can have 75, 100 businesses, as long as each one of them are in a folder, right? And that folder has somebody's face on it that's in charge of that business, and that face is not your face, right? So that's that whole idea is you can be in charge of 100, of 1,000 businesses, but you just cannot be the primary mover in all of those businesses. Right. You need somebody else that is waking up every day thinking about growing that business, thinking about making that business better.
So what's your day-to-day role in those businesses? You said you sort of coach and sort of help people, but what's your day-to-day role?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hi, I'm Alex, the host of X Health Show. Meet the future of healthcare. Think X-Men, that's X Health. Actual superheroes behind programming living cells to cure cancer once and for all. Tech that detects preterm delivery in seconds, brain-computer interface, or apps that employ AI to match you, your disease, with the best treatment. X Health Show brings to you visionaries who push the boundaries of healthcare from Switzerland, the heart of Europe, and the most innovative country in the world. Let me introduce you to their startups. Head to X Health Show, meet the future of healthcare. Happy to greet you there.
Oh, sorry, I had some water go down the wrong pipe. Oh man! All right, I'm back. So my day-to-day role is waking up, looking at the business. So for me personally, I just say, how can I grow the world that I'm in? Because if I can grow the world that I'm in, then I grow the world of everybody that's in the world with me, right? And so I think insurance, right? So I'm looking at what is the path to growing our insurance company? What is the path to getting more producers in our insurance company so that my business partner can then be managing 5, 10, 50 people that are all producing. So those 50 people live bigger lives than they've ever dreamed of living. And as they grow, like Zig Ziglar says, you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. So if I can help 50 producers figure out how to live a bigger life than they ever dreamed of, then by nature, I just their bigger life is going to translate into a bigger life for me as well, because all of our world gets bigger.
That's fantastic. I think that's amazing. And it's really interesting that you managed to, as you say, like you help people, you enable people to make your business and their business grow as well. Are they? I don't. We will move on. I'm just interested because there is some sort of similarity to my businesses that. At the moment, I'm running most of them myself, and then I've got people helping me. But do you JV? Do you joint venture with these people, or are they sort of like directors of the business as well? I'm just interested from a very personal point of view that maybe this is something that I could do with my businesses.
Yeah, pretty much all of my businesses I have. So I usually have full control of the business, but I have partners that have equity stakes in the business. So it is a bit of a JV, but more where they have an equity stake in the business. Usually they have to earn the equity stake, and then they can buy into that at full price, but they can buy into what they have built. So that's the goal there. And part of the idea behind it, I read a lot. I work to try to read at least 3 books a month. And I actually just went back through a bunch of books that I really, really love. And one of them is a book called Good to Great that almost everybody's heard of. And yeah, I've quoted it 1,000 times, but I haven't read that book again in almost a decade. And just seeing one of the things that really led me down the path of giving equity ownership to other people in the businesses was just the idea that we don't want to be the genius with 1,000 helpers, right? Like that's like what he says is one of the worst things that we can be. We want to be the one, we want to be empowering people. We want people that are frankly better than us. But one of the ways that we get people that are better than us is to give them upside if they live into it and grow into the person that they could become.
So if you're reading 3 books a month, I'm assuming self-development is pretty big for you from a business point of view, but from a personal point of view, and is that something that's big for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work to spend about 10% of my income in personal development. So I spend well over 6 figures every single year on personal development, masterminds, coaching, just different things there. Because I do believe that your business grows to the extent that you grow. And so I think that's really, really important. But yeah, no, everything from how to scale businesses, how to grow yourself, how to grow the world you're in. Literally here's a quick story of there was a guy that I was talking to. He had a real estate agent business. And he was making about $500,000 a year, but right, which is, nobody's going to complain about $500,000 a year. It's a good number. But I asked him, I was like, is that really where you want to stop? And he's like, Chris, I've got everything I want. Like, I don't want to move the goalposts. I don't have any reason to grow any bigger. And I asked him, I was like, well, what about the people in your world? Are all the people that working for you, have they accomplished everything they want to accomplish? And he was like, no, why do you ask? And I was like, because the second you stop growing, you then become a glass ceiling where they no longer have the ability to grow bigger lives, right? Because you are the leader of the organization and you are going to dictate how big that fish tank really can grow. Mm-hmm. And, he came back and he was like, dang, I never thought about that. I just thought $500,000 is a good amount of money for me. And I was like, bro, if you love your people, if you love the people that are working with you, the people that have decided to partner with you, if you don't think bigger, you have now capped their potential growth. And so that's kind of the way that I see it.
So yeah, because I started my entrepreneur journey relatively late when I was just turned 40. I'm 41 now, coming up to 42. And I find it since I went into the entrepreneurial world, I had businesses before I left my corporate job. But what I wanted to say was that whole point of creating glass ceilings, from my experience of meeting entrepreneurs, it kind of fits into 2. There's probably more distinguished, but you've got the lifestyle entrepreneurs that build a business so they can have the lifestyle that they want. That might be spending more time with their kids, might be traveling, it might be like doing different experiences. And then you've got the empire builders, the people that sounds like what you fit into, that you're pushing boundaries, you're creating larger businesses so there isn't a glass ceiling on there. You've said a couple of times when I've been talking to you that you've always been someone that's pushing for bigger. Not necessarily what's your view on lifestyle entrepreneurs, but what, like, do you think that, like, there's obviously a space for both types of entrepreneurs. Do you see lifestyle entrepreneurs and say that they're not achieving as much as they could do, or do you sort of say, well, actually they're happy what they're doing, they might have 1 or 2 people supporting them? Do you think you have to look for the next deal, the next negotiation, the next bigger aspect of business?
Yeah, I do think that it is a very personal thing and people need to decide where they want to be. But I do think that if you have people working for you that are big thinkers, that is what you've got to decide. There's different types of talent. There's capacity talent, and then there's cul-de-sac talent, right? Hopefully we always have talented people working for us, but do we have people that, they just want to make X dollars, clock in, clock out? Then yeah, that's fine. Hire as many of those people as you want and live the life that you've decided is good enough for you. And it's great because then they're not there. But if you have people that are trusting you with their lives to dream bigger, to think bigger, to lead them to a bigger place, then man, I think if you have the ability, you have the responsibility to grow and create. Well, and also, I have a very philanthropic idea as well. You think that, you look at hospitals, you look at homeless that were fed and clothed. You look at missionaries that were sent. You look at just all of these things that are really important. And, those are dollars that if you have the ability to create that wealth, you have the responsibility to create the wealth and send people out. I do think that we've got our time, our talent, and our treasure. And if we're not getting an ROI on all of that, then, there's a problem.
So just to move on, as a leader, so you did a doctorate in leadership. So the sort of different types of leaders that there are, what type of leader would you say that you are? So transactional, transformational, what would you say what category do you fit into?
Well, I mean, I guess, I'm not quite following which level there are, because I know a lot of people have like a bunch of different leadership categories. So it depends on who are we talking about on that? So I'm not sure exactly that I'm following, but what I will say is, for me personally, I know that I've got 4 genius zones, and I try to live in those 4 genius zones. And one of them is pitching vision, helping people see a bigger life for themselves than they may see for themselves. Another one is I'm high energy. So I impart energy. Brandon Burchard, in his book, High Performance Habits, says that high performers impart energy wherever they go. And that's what I do to the worlds that I'm in. Strategic relationships. So I build relationships, but then I also connect people in my world to each other so that they can meet other people, because, as Jim Rohn says, we're the average of the 5 people that we spend our time with, right? And so are we spending time with people that are going to make us better and bigger? And then the last thing is creative problem solving. And so that's where I try to spend my time. And I think through doing that, I help people see a bigger version of their own life for themselves.
Fantastic. So tell me about Redux Group. Is Redux Group the group that you've talked about with the construction, legal, the insurance, the lenders? Is that all part of the same group, Redux?
So the Redux Group is our real estate agent group. So that's the group that just buys and sells retail houses and also helps with investors. So that's the group there. And that really is our flywheel, right? That's the group that we started in December 2014. Last year, we're going to sell probably right around 700, 800 houses in 2022. Awesome. So we'll do a lot of business there, but it also is the flywheel that spins out for everything else and gives us a platform for our coaching business, gives us the platform for everything from title to lending to insurance, all of the different pieces there. But it also allows us to help other people that want to grow businesses like we've grown, to be able to say, hey, here's our calling card. Like we built a $1 million business in 2 years, and we built a net $1 million business in 4.5. So this is what we do, and this is how we do it. And, we can help other people figure it out as well.
So I see you do wholesaling as well. From my understanding, that's similar to what I do. You package deals for investors. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. And so wholesaling is a piece of what we do for sure. And then the biggest piece of my coaching business is actually with REI Revive, which is helping wholesalers monetize their dead leads. And we really use that as a big piece to grow our Redux Group business, because most wholesalers, right, that you find 20 deals, 20 people that say, hey, I want to sell. Of them, maybe 16 want retail value for it, right? So there's no business for a wholesaler or somebody looking to buy at a discount. And then you have 4 deals of people that said, hey, I'll sell at a discount. And of those 4, maybe you lock up one that's going to sell at 65, 70 cents on the dollar. Well, what happens to the other 19 that raised their hand and said, hey, I want to sell? Well, the reality is all of those leads, somebody's going to get paid for them, but it's just not going to be you. And so that's what we're teaching people how to monetize those other 19 deals that you've paid to bring in, but they're just going out and somebody else is making money on those.
So how do you package that deal that they want asking price? How do you is it do you package to different types of investors? How do you package those other 15 or whatever deals that other people that they find and you can't find a sort of below market value price?
What we do is teach people how to partner with a real estate agent that knows how to list those properties and get those done. And see, most people will say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. I'll just give it to real estate agents." But literally, people have been doing that for a long time, and it just doesn't work. Like you just give it to an average real estate agent, it's not going to work. You're going to have to figure out the scripts, the dialogues. How do you get people in? Because everybody's brother's uncle is a real estate agent, right? They don't want to talk to a real estate agent. They wanted to talk to an investor. So how do you get that real estate agent in the door so they don't feel baited and switched? And then how do you have that teach that real estate agent how to talk to the person so that they'll work with you rather than their brother's uncle who's a hairdresser and a real estate agent? And that's what we're teaching. And I think everybody can figure it out, but will it take a year? Will it take 2 years to figure out how to monetize it at a high level? Maybe it will. And, if you can go from, bringing in, maybe it takes 2 years to bring in 10,000, 20,000. We have one group that brings in over $50,000 every single month that we send in referral fees to them. So, if you're missing out on anywhere from like 5 to 50,000 a month in referral fees on deals that you've already paid to get people to raise their hand and say, I want to sell, every month that you're trying to figure it out yourself, every month you're just trying to figure it out, you're losing a massive amount of money.
So what marketing strategies do you encourage people to use in the US?
For what type of property?
For property. I'm thinking about wholesaling property. What's the sort of strategies to actually bring those deals actually in?
Yeah, well, if people want to market, what I would say is, one of the easiest ways, if you have $0, if you have almost no dollars and lots of time, I would say something called Driving for Dollars. And you just download the app Deal Machine and then use the promo code Uncommon. You'll get a bunch of skip tracing for free. You'll get, you can actually even hire drivers to go do it. But they will skip trace for you. And literally you just pull up a map. And every time you see a dilapidated property, you just click on it and it'll make your list. And you get 150 of those properties that look dilapidated. And then you start calling through. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they'll call once they've got 5 properties. They're like, one of them's going to sell, right? But you need 150 that look dilapidated. Then you call through them and you'll get a deal. But then you'll also set yourself up for some revive deals, right? There REI revive type deals where you'll make money on the referral fees as well. So that's one. The other one is batch data. And again, if you use the referral code Uncommon, they'll give you some free skip traces so that you can, I think it's like 200 property records or something like that. And you can pull up people that are absentee landlords, people that are late on their payments, whatever it is, you just stack some data and you can send out texts, you can send out whatever, just saying that you're offering to buy properties. So those are two of the easiest, most cost-effective ways. I also, REI Vault, realestateinvestor.com. If you write them and say that Chris Craddock sent you, they'll give you a discount, I think, on your first month. But they've got a done for you direct mail campaign where they will send out direct mail for you to the right lists, and they'll even collect all the data for you and just say, hey, call these people. So those are the areas, and they get more expensive as you go, right? The cheapest is the Driving for Dollars. The pretty much what I'd say is like lower middle class expense is going through batch. And then the more expensive one, but also the higher quality, is direct mail.
Interesting. Do you think negotiating is critical? Because I think negotiating is a critical functionality in property, in real estate, that people, because it's an art form, it's not an exact science, negotiating, finding the best deal that you can. Do you think negotiating is a skill that's sometimes underutilized for property investors, for real estate investors?
Absolutely. And there's a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, which I think
I'm just finishing that. I've just finished it, actually. It is amazing. I've actually registered for Black Swan to maybe jump on one of his courses because it was amazing. I thought it was a great book.
He is excellent. And with it, one of the things that I learned is a lot of times it's called anchoring. For anybody that's listening and hasn't read anything, one of the things that I learned is a lot of times, people will try to get you to anchor. They'll say, well, what's the price? You called me, you wrote me, you text me, what are you willing to offer? But if you can get them to tell you the price, the best deals you'll ever get are the ones where you don't offer a price. You say, well, what do you want for it? And they tell you a number that's way below what you would have paid for it. Right. Because if you give the number, then that's bad news. But I mean, I'll tell you, there's a lot of sales books, Flip the Script, never split the difference, Getting to Yes. There's a number of these books that I think that everybody needs to read to really get good at that. But I'll tell you, I think back to your question, I think negotiating is important, but I do think that the more important thing is the number of deals that you get. Because if you're only talking to a couple people, then you can be the best negotiator in the world and you're just not going to talk to enough people to find a really discounted property. But it goes back to activity and skill. Talk to enough people and then get good at what you're saying. And that's really the double whammy right there.
So it really is a numbers game. I found that as well. That we're in a bit of a strange situation in the UK at the moment, especially London, where it's really been a situation of a difficult market to be in, and not enough. We've had a lot of stock on the market, and now there's no stock at all. How do you teach and sort of educate people on real estate in the sort of different markets, whether they're like booming times or whether we're in recessions? How does your course flex that way?
Yeah. So, basically what we're teaching people how to do is monetize what they've already done. So for my course, it's less of us teaching you how to go get leads and get deals. Although I did give you a couple easy ways to get leads and deals, Deal Machine and Batch, and just use the code Uncommon so you can do it for free at the beginning. But once you've got leads, once you've got deals, monetizing those deals that you already have, right? So here's an example. It's the lumber mill example. Basically, these lumber mills were out there and they were milling wood, but they were making almost no money on milling wood. And somebody got the idea, what if we were to sell the byproduct, which is the sawdust, right? They were throwing away just massive amounts of sawdust. And so somebody was like, oh man, we could repurpose sawdust and make it particle board. We could sell it for fuel. We could use it for fuel. We could, just repurpose the cast off stuff. And then they went from being mildly profitable to massively profitable. And so that's what we teach with REI Revive. We teach people how to go from paying for all of these leads where maybe, you close one in however much, 100, 1 in 200, whatever your number is of people that have called in and are doing deals, to being able to close 4, 5, 6, get paid every time the phone rings, you can get paid. And so that's really what we teach people how to do. And if you want to scale your business, you've got to lead with revenue, right? You've got to have money coming in. And that's the problem, is most people don't have money coming in on their business. And so then they can't build out the next step of their org chart. Well, if you can make more money on every person that calls, whether you close them as a wholesale or a fix and flip or not, then you have more money coming in that then you can expand and expand and expand and just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's amazing. And I see you also do a podcast called Wholesaling Inc. as well. So have you done 858 episodes?
So I'm one of the coaches at Wholesaling Inc. So I have a podcast called Uncommon Real Estate, which is just me. And I think we've done something like 100 episodes on that. And then Wholesaling Inc., there's a handful of us that are coaches there. And that, one of my REI Revive product is through Wholesaling Inc. And so, yeah, we've done a lot of episodes with Wholesaling Inc.
And what's your experience as a podcaster? Because it's a mixed bag. I train people to be a podcaster because I've done 353. I think I've published 353 today was the last one. And as a podcaster, what's your motivation for doing the podcast?
Yeah, there's a couple things. For me, I personally, it's the same reason I give out my why I respond to all my Instagram DMs personally, which I know at some point I probably won't be able to because I'm getting a lot more these days. But people were so generous with me that I just want to be generous with them. We've been able to grow really fast because I was able to talk to people that taught me how to compress all the decades of learning into days. And so that's part of what we do here with the podcast, Wholesaling Inc. and with Uncommon Real Estate was we just want to help people get where they're going faster. As long as people are listening to it in order to implement it and not just listening to it as a hobby, right? A lot of people use education as a hobby and don't do anything about it. But we just want to give tools that, heck, if people want to listen, they're gonna build the life of their dreams really quickly.
Fantastic. Where do you see you and your business in 2 to 5 years' time?
Oh man, that's a great question. I personally would like to see, my business is at a point right now where, I'll have my life essentially paid off and where I can live a very big life and I don't have to bring in any more income. So at this point, probably within the next year, I'll have almost everything in my life, paid to a point where I don't have to work ever again. And then I just moved to legacy, right? Like what are the things where I build generational wealth, where I build legacy here on the earth, make sure that the earth is much better when I leave it than it was when I started. And that's kind of the goal here in the next year or two.
So there's a definite change so I'm very lucky to speak to you at this point, because if you're thinking about legacy, which we'll actually come on to a little bit later, but you're looking to transition away day-to-day running from your side?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. The cool thing is most of my businesses at this point don't require my time in them. They're running themselves, which really is scale, right? Like you can make a lot of money, but if your business requires you doing anything to do it, you just have a high paying job. But a business is really something where you can leave for a month, you can leave for a week, you can get, I shared that I had COVID and I was down for, I'm like, actually today is my first full business day back after that. And, but my business was stronger while I was gone. Like I made more money while I was gone than when I was working a couple of weeks before that. So that's the business. And so that's where I just want to continue to grow that out so that we can continue, making it bigger and better.
Is there any new business that's sort of on the radar at the moment that you may be thinking you might spin off into?
That's a good question. Because I like building businesses, I've been thinking through what next steps are, as these continue to grow, thinking through, do I want to, most of the businesses that I'm a part of, I've built from the ground up. And so I'm thinking, I think I love to show the profit with Marcus Lemonis. I'd love to be able to take what I've learned and help, kind of smaller business folks that really have big dreams, but don't really have a path to scaling their business. I'd love to be able to kind of VC, or JV with them and kind of help them grow their business. But, these are just thoughts that I have in the back of my mind that I'm wrestling with for what the future holds.
Yeah, and it sounds a great idea. It really is. It's really inspiring talking to you, actually, from a very personal point of view, Chris, because especially the real estate business that I'm in, I sort of own properties myself in long-term rents and also wholesale. I also deal package as well. But it's interesting that you've touched on those different areas, for example, like insurance and lending and things like that. And equally, estate agents, real estate agencies, and building businesses that way. So really interesting. It's been really revealing talking to you because I always think you need to spend time in a business to be able to understand it from the bootstraps up, to understand how to run a business, because only then you're able to employ people that can need to do the job on the sort of time frame that you've done. So it's been really interesting speaking to you about that. Have you ever taken any funding for a business, or have you bootstrapped every business? Obviously you might have moved, but have you ever gone out and you've said, I want to get funding for X business and built it that way?
Yeah. Actually we had a very serious conversation about selling some equity in one of our companies early on, and we chose not to do that. I did raise a bunch of money when we were doing our fix and flip business early on. I raised a ton of money for that, but not to give away equity in that place. If I had to do over again, would I? I'm really happy with where we are right now, but with the right partner, I probably would have. Just because what I've learned is if you want to go somewhere fast, you want to go with somebody that already knows the path, right? And so that's why I spend so much money on coaches. That's why I spend so much money to have people show me the way and make the right steps. So yeah, I probably would, but I haven't in the past.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're coming to the end of the interview. I asked the same 6 questions to all of my guests. They're quick-fire questions. They don't need a quick-fire answer. They have been described as thought-provoking. So let's go on to the first one. What's the best decision that you've made in your career?
Best decision. Well, I think I shared this when I was in high school that I became a Christian in high school. I think that has informed and changed my life, probably kept me from being dead or in jail. So that would probably be the best decision that I've ever made.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Best piece of advice is get into relationship with high level people. The people you surround yourself with will absolutely dictate your future. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
And sorry, this is not part of the 6 questions, but I'm interested. Did you cut people out of your life? Because they were a negative impact on it.
I have, yeah. And actually, it's one of the things that I wrestle with, because there's some people in my life that it's just, they're not great people, and not bringing us to the place where we want to be. So yeah, there are people that are no longer a part of my life, which sometimes is a sad thing, but also helps get us to where we need to go.
Yeah, and that negativity can be crippling for if you leave them as an impact into your life, they can be crippling. So I think that's thank you for your honesty. Who's the one person, few people that helped you most in your career?
Well, my wife's in the other room, so if I don't say her, she'll probably be mad at me. But the other people, obviously in my career, I have different people. I actually had to create a life map for this one mastermind that I was a part of. And it was really interesting because every time I leveled up, I always had a new relationship that also coincided with that leveling up. And so I don't know that there is one person that I could say has been that person for me. I would just say every time I level up, there's somebody new that teaches me how to market, how to lead better, how to, whatever it is, like just different pieces there.
That's fair enough. Do you have any regrets?
Any regrets? Oh man, I've got lots of regrets. What do they say? Never trust someone that doesn't walk with a limp. I think about a time where we literally lost a massive amount of money. But with it was just because, Jim Collins calls it the hubris born of success. But see, here's the thing. We did really, really well when I got back into flipping. And so then I went way bigger than I was equipped to go, and raised a lot of money, just did a lot of big things, but we couldn't flip enough we couldn't keep stuff going because we just had too much inventory. And so we almost lost a fortune. And so, if I'd do over again, if I knew now, although that did set me up and forced me to grow my retail company as fast as we did so that we could pay everything off and get where we are now. So it all created the person that I am today. But man, if I could have gone back and not lost all that money and, learn the easy way rather than have to learn by getting just beat up, that would have been nice.
Well, thank you for your honesty. A lot of people, and it's no criticism of them, but a lot of people say, I am now who I am because of all of my mistakes and therefore I have no regrets, which I do respect that sort of answer. But I think if people are really honest with me, like you have been, there's usually a couple of decisions that you made through your life that you're just like, whether it's because of lack of knowledge, lack of experience, maybe the wrong mentor, or not the wrong mentor, but not the right mentor to lead you or help you and guide you. So thank you for your honesty. I appreciate it. In life or business, what are you most proud of?
Well, yeah, that's a tough question. I think I've really created a life that I'd want. I mean, business wise, we make a fortune, and I employ a lot of people, and I help a lot of people live bigger lives than they could have. Kid wise, I'm home, and family wise, I'm home, and able to choose when I work and when I don't work, and full transparency, I like to work a lot, so sometimes it's probably more than I should. But I've really been able to build an organization and a company and a life that I look back and I'm like, dang, I could have seen this happening, but it just seems like, man, if you would have told me a couple of years ago we could have gotten here, it would have been harder to believe than it is. So yeah.
What does legacy mean to you? You've talked about it before, but what does it mean to you?
Legacy, I mean, leaving the world where people, the big key is, as a Christian guy, like I'd like to point people towards who they were created to be. As a family, I'd love to leave generational wealth, where my kids understand wealth at a high level. They understand spirituality at a high level. Just that everywhere where I've been, people are going to live bigger and better lives than they would have if I wasn't there.
That's awesome. And where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so a couple places. I'm on Instagram at Cradrock, not my last name, but an old cheesy high school nickname, Craddrock. And I'll respond to any DM personally, just because people were so generous with me. I want to do that for everybody else. So if you send me a DM, I'll respond personally. I'm on TikTok, Chris Craddock Official. I throw out some different thoughts on business growth, financial growth, scaling, all that out there. And then chriscraddock.com. If you're doing any direct to seller marketing, go to chriscraddock.com, and I'd love to see if we can help you monetize all of your dead leads.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yes, bye.